I'm Anand, director of the Lawyers Collective and an advocate. I'm here with both Arvind and Siddharth, Narrain. They're related, that's why their names are Narrain. But they are very well-known activists, legal activists, academics and legal activists in the LGBTQI movement. They've done a lot of work, so I'm going to ask them a few questions. So Arvind, tell us how you got involved in the movement, LGBTQI movement.
Yeah, actually the story goes back to the National Law School in 1997 when we had organized the first gay rights seminar in an academic institution, because you were there at the time, and we had, as students we had organized it. We wrote a range of people saying, will you come and speak? And you were one of the people who very spontaneously said, yeah, I'll come, I'll pay one way, you guys take care of one way fare. We did that, you came and you spoke. And your speaking was actually very, very key, because you spoke in a very frank way about issues of sexuality, which has never been done before in terms of, I'd never heard anybody speak like that before. At that time, in 1997. After that we had Michael Kirby visit the law school and speak in the law school again. And he made a simple point, he said gay rights are human rights. And that in a sense gave me at least the sense of confidence to start beginning to speak out about the issue.
But I became more involved after the Panchgani conference around 2000-2001, when I heard there was a panel on sexuality where I heard Famila and others speak, and that's the time I began to relate my own personal coming out happened around that time, and that's when I even became more politically involved with the issue.
I want to ask you a question which has been troubling the court and other, now that the hearing is going on. What do you think about the nature-nurture controversy? Is it relevant? Is it important? What do you say, Siddharth? Come to you later.
My own opinion is that it's a mix. I would say it's a mix of nature and nurture, and I think Menaka in her arguments yesterday, she referred to this. She said it's a mix of both genetic predisposition as well as social conditioning, as well as what you're exposed to. And I think even generally scientifically that's more and more accepted, that I don't think it's one or the other. Yes, and even my own experience was that, if you maybe there's something innate, but unless you have the capacity and you're exposed to a certain environment, in many ways you may not come out.
Do you think it's important in the rights discourse, or do you think it is important?
It is and it isn't. Because when you say that you don't discriminate against a person on account of who they are, then obviously the question of the fact of nature comes in very closely. But when it comes to the question of expression, right, to express oneself, that's obviously in some ways a question of choice. If I want to be part of a community, be part of a group, start a gay and lesbian magazine, those are all parts of expression which are not necessarily linked to the nature part of it. So I think I agree with that. I think it's both.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing that so far as transgenders are concerned, they have a choice to identify with one gender. And in fact, NALSA even says that you can shift voices which you are intimately associated with, made a very significant contribution. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, no, the key aspect which we tried getting on board was, one is in terms of the affidavits of people who are affected by 377. Again, we found affidavits in terms of lesbian women who were sought to be separated by magistrate on grounds of 377, with affidavits of transgender people, affidavits of gay people, affidavits of kotis. So we realized that the law actually affects the cross section of the community. That's one thing we tried getting on board the case.
You actually brought together the voices of the people who were actually affected, and wealth and very rich material. Siddharth, you also contributed to that, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's the time I actually got involved with the case directly. I was working at ALF at that time. And what was interesting is this, just even doing that work and how moving and powerful those testimonies were. It also transforms you when you realize that there are people who are facing this kind of violence and discrimination at different levels.
So did that change after NAS from 2009 to 2013? What is your experience in that period? Did things actually improve a lot? What is your personal experience with your friends and who are in the movement?
Yeah, so I would say things have shifted in the sense that there's a lot of confidence. There's a lot of confidence post NAS. There's a kind of a public that you can publicly discuss this issue without thinking that it's an issue that is stigmatized, without feeling shy of it. So you can talk about it in the hall of your family, in the bedroom or in the dining room, on television. That didn't exist earlier. This kind of it gave a certain kind of legitimacy of public discourse, and such wide public discourse, which then opens up that space.
We got a lot of flack, not from the community, which was legitimate, which I've talked about not consulting, but from people who were already there. They were very, very hostile. So those were difficult days. But today, I mean, I'm very happy that people are, as I said to the Chief Justice, they're falling over. And I think that's a good thing. But did Kaushal change that substantially?
It did, in terms of there was definitely the fact that the police felt a sense of empowerment. The police felt that that we don't have a weapon in our hand anymore, because Siddharth knows that many times that people have gone to the police station saying NAS judgment in Karnataka. We said the NAS judgment is there. You can't do this to us. And what Kaushal did, it took the weapon out of our hands. That's one part of the story. But on the other hand, also change happens in many, many ways, And I have friends who say that, all your work of the law, we are going ahead regardless of it. And that is also true. Post 2013, as Vikram pointed out, it's not like young people have gone into the closet. IIT students have filed a petition. You see the range of petitioners. It's a fact that in some ways the law can't change what existing social status quo. Exactly.
There was, of course, initially there was a lot of panic. There was a lot of panic of, oh my God, what are we going to do? And is it going to be a reversal? But over a period of time, you see how there is that confidence, because some space has been opened, and it's going to be very difficult for that to be reversed. It's not so easy to reverse it.
What are your hopes and expectations?
After Puttaswamy, after the fact that privacy is recognized as a constitutional right, after recognizing the fact that sexual orientation is a part of the right to privacy, and 9-judge bench has ruled in this particular way, legally, there's no way the Supreme Court can change that kind of a status quo. And we have obviously a bench which is willing to listen and engage on these questions. Again, the transformation we see is quite dramatic. In the High Court, we were still in the business of educating the judges. I remember you took them in great detail to the Wolfenden Committee report, And Wolfenden Committee report today is a dated report. What does Wolfenden say? It says there's a place of private immorality, which is not the law's business. Today we're talking about the right of public expression of one's sexuality, and that's the contribution of the privacy judgment. So in that sense, it's a dramatic shift.
Question 377 will go. What about other issues? Are they important, or should we do it in another day?
I think, the way 377 goes will determine that. So if 377 goes out with a bang, in the sense that if the jurisprudence laid down by the court is something that's far-reaching, and can set the ground for other changes, then that will lay the basis for changes in many, many spheres.
The point which everybody raises is, okay, fine, you get this judgment. What will change at the ground level as far as LGBT people are concerned? And that's a genuine fear, a genuine kind of a fear that, that end of the day, we want lives to be better at the grassroots level of the police station. So I think it's important that we get a judgment which is broad and expansive in its understanding, so we can start using that to move towards maybe a non-discrimination legal framework. That could be one path to the future, as it were,
Absolutely, absolutely. Vertical and horizontal.
Yes.
And that's the 15-2, those kind of arguments, if we're able to push for equality both in the public and private sector. So much of discrimination happens outside of the state, right? From our context, and imagine the impact it can have across the board.
And that's a question to you actually. You all have been pushing a little bit on the idea of an anti-discrimination law. What do you think of the potential promise of that particular legal framework?
I think this judgment will actually lay a framework or a ground and an opening which we can talk more radically in the next period, because there will be a judgment, there will be groups with vested interests, from disability to LGBTQI to even SC/ST, who are demanding that across the board. It need not be reservation, but at least non-discrimination. We have to dialogue with those groups. I think it's a good future. I am very hopeful